Welcome to Italics, television for the Italian American experience. I'm your host, Anthony Tamburri. This month on Italics, Fred Gardefei, Distinguished Professor of English and Italian American Studies, chats with Maria Tamburri, National Chair, and Pat Tinto, President of the National Organization of Italian American Women, also known as NOIAO. Let's join them now.
Hi, Maria Tamburri and Pat Tinto. Welcome to Italics. All of our viewers might not be familiar with the National Organization of Italian American Women, or NOIA. Tell us a little bit about the foundation of this organization, its overall mission, and some of its history.
The National Organization of Italian American Women, known as NOIAO and NOIA both, was founded in 1980. It's got an interesting story behind it. Believe it or not, the idea for the organization came from Geraldine Ferraro, Congresswoman, as a result of an inquiry that was made by Dr. Aileen Riotto Saire when she asked her if there were any organizations in the Italian American community for women. And Congresswoman Ferraro assured her that there were not, just for men and women. And the men made the speeches and the women made the coffee. So she suggested to her that she start one. And that was the beginning of our organization. They started small with a meeting of prominent professional women, including Matilda Raffa Cuomo, Roseanne Coletti, Donna De Matteo, and others. Their process of deciding what the objective or mission of the organization would be. And they wanted to share their professional experiences and also serve as role models for younger Italian American women. So it progressed from a small meeting where they were looking to find a support for their professional and educational aspirations to having monthly dinner meetings with guest speakers after the meetings, and they eventually evolved into panel discussions. And what really changed everything for our organization was in 1982, when the New York Times wrote a very glowing, positive article about us, and it resulted in 800 more members. So that was pivotal for us in our expansion. As far as our mission, the mission is fourfold. We are dedicated to uniting and connecting women of Italian heritage and culture. We celebrate the achievements of Italian American women. We inspire our members who have shared interests in cultural programming. And lastly, we empower and advance the younger generation to reach their aspirations for education and their professions.
So tell us a little bit about NOIA's programming. For example, what did you do prior to COVID, and how have you adapted to online programming since March of 2020?
So as Maria said, since 1980, our organization has really aimed to provide its members with a great array of different programming, aimed to engage, inspire, and connect women in support of its mission. So we started with 4 physical regions in the Northeast, with the greater New York area, which includes the 5 boroughs, Westchester and Long Island, greater Washington, D.C., which also includes the states of Maryland and Virginia, Connecticut, and Rhode Island. And these 4 states really represent the largest concentrations of Italian Americans in the country, or give or take a few. There are some other populations really growing too at the same time. But because of this and having these active regions, we produce over 40 programs, usually annually in person, ranging from educational, historical, cultural lectures, panel discussions, or docent-led museums. We've done a lot at the Smithsonian Institute, where we've had private tours, a lot of them based on a theme or an exhibit that originated in Italy or deals with Italian culture and history. And we've also done some artist talks. We've had Italian American artists. We had a curated exhibit of just the work of Italian American women, which was exhibited in Long Island City a couple of years ago. And we always try to bring people together in professional development meetings and give them the opportunity to also network and connect, so they can also advance in their own careers or lifestyles. And even we have done some culinary events with chef demonstrations and wine tastings, which are like always fun social events. And so prior to spring of 2020, all these events were in person, and they were basically in those regions because we didn't have a good enough outreach in certain other extents, although we sometimes are able to connect with people in LA, or even we have membership in Argentina and South America. But providing them with programs has been difficult. However, one of the benefits of the COVID lockdown was that we now had the new technical ability to do virtual meetings using Zoom and other formats. And so we were able to actually reach more people than we've had over the years. And across the country, we've got people tuning in from Utah. Who knew there were Italians in Utah? The Los Angeles Museum of Italian Cultural Institute did a little curated tour of their exhibits. And then we also had different programs where we had live streams on Facebook where we featured some of our own, board members who were psychiatrists or doctors or social workers, telling people how they can help cope with the current situation in isolation. And we actually were able to connect in that way, which was a benefit in a way. And meetings then blossomed from the 10 to 20 people you could bring in a room around the table to 50 to even 100. We had 4 authors, Italian American women who wrote memoirs, talk about the influences that their family upbringing has had on their life and their successes. And we had like 100 people tune in from all around. So it's it's been actually one sense a boon to us to have this ability now, and even to speak with you over.
Right. Well, historically, you've had an annual gala luncheon. You had obviously Skip in 2020, but you did come back in 2021, and you did it online, as you said, as an extension of this new technology that has enabled us to connect to outside of our normal channels. How did the 2021 gala go, Maria? And who were your honorees, for example?
That went wonderfully well. After having to postpone it not once but twice, we didn't know, like other organizations, we didn't know if we could still serve our members. And we did count on that. We do count on that particular event because it's our major fundraiser. But it was a huge success thanks to the patience and generosity of our sponsors and our honorees. And the honorees were actress Brenda Vaccaro.
Am I a proud Italian woman? Yes, I am. Because of the ladies in my family who reached out to me when I was young to preserve that heritage in me, to keep the heart, the love, warmth, and soul of the Italian woman, strong to survive and forever beautiful, to continue to give and preserve family and its daily practices of its culture. There was also its language, its food and cooking, and most important, its stories and pride of family and loyalty. And oh, did they sew? You bet they did. In order to survive in America, they started out with a sewing machine in a factory with a chair and the endless hours of work to earn a living. The influence of my culture was well respected. My name is Brenda Buell Vaccaro, and every syllable means every day of my life. To be proud and grateful of this honor you bestow on me, and Aunt Mary, Aunt Tessie, Aunt Marge, Mario, my father, Christine, my mother, and 50 more devoted Italians also. Thank you.
Author and filmmaker Adriana Trigiani.
This didn't come about just out of thin air. It was a dream, really, that Italian American women would, with their collective voices, come together to celebrate really what we come from, I came to New York and I knew no one, but always what saved me or what shored me up on some level was this community of Italian Americans.
And entrepreneur and activist in the Italian American community, Angelo Vivolo.
I want to thank Maria Tamburi for her excellent leadership and the members of her board for giving me this special honor. For many years, I've been involved with supporting our great Italian heritage and culture in my role as president and chairman of many of the organizations that I'm sure you are familiar with that share many of the same goals as Noya. I was asked to speak about the most influential women in my life. In addition to my wife, Denise, of 43 years, who is the love of my life and inspires me every day, I must talk about my Sicilian mother. Though I do not think that my experience was unique, my mother's principles resonate with me every day, and I am so thankful for it. Compassion, respect, love of family and God, respect for one another, and compassion to help others, giving, without expectations of getting anything in return. She would say that the reward is in the giving. To me, that is what it means to be Italian, and that is what Noya stands for.
Thanks to them and the John Belly Foundation, Columbus Citizens Foundation, and our other sponsors, we had a huge success, in fact. We reached, like Pat just mentioned, when she responded, we reached an audience that we wouldn't have reached before. And we actually had a little event post the gala, because it was a gala this year instead of a luncheon. And it was well received all around.
Well, in addition to that gala, you have another signature event that identifies Noya as an Italian American women's organization, and that is the honoring of wise women. There's so much talk in the media of wise guys. So where did you get this idea of wise women, and how does that relate to your mission and your ability to reach out to Italian Americans, not just women, but all genders?
As you said, this is a signature event of our organization, mainly of the region. So every year, based around the Epiphany in January, each region puts together a program honoring, recognizing 3 outstanding Italian American women. And it's sort of a counterpoint to like the 3 Kings celebration, or the 3 original wise men or magi, right? So it plays off of that, religious symbolism or mythology, but it really brings everyone together to epitomize Noya's mission, as it focuses on inspiring, connecting, and empowering all women while we celebrate them. So the honorees are women of distinction, prominence in their respective fields, their achievements, whether personal, professional, cultural, truly inspiration to all the women, and serve as exemplary role models and mentors. And so by having that in person, it gives the women who attend an opportunity to actually network and not only hear the stories of these 3 women and learn about, but also have to make more connections that they can follow up with afterwards. And so it has been an amazing event. When you hear the 3 women in each region, they usually get up and give their story, what growing up Italian American meant to them. And it brings tears to many audience members, but tears of joy, because also they recognize, look, that sounds like me. That sounds like my nonna, or that's how. And I realize now, my mother, strong Italian woman, is a major influence. And it's not the stereotypical patriarchal society, but there is a strong Italian woman at the center of every family. And that brings people together and helps them, empower them and to go forward. And this year we had to turn to a virtual event. And actually, in one sense, it was a help, because having these meetings in January are always a weather challenge. But we decided that there's no way we could, bring people together for like more than an hour online and honor 12 women if we had 3 in each region. So we did 1 from each region, which gave us 4 wise women. And we did a video production to Zoom, and it was very well received. It was inspiring. Of course, we didn't raise the money that we usually do, because it's designed to be the one fundraiser for each region, and we usually have a silent auction. But we did, we had fundraising and connecting to women, so still, was going along with our mission.
Great, great. One of the things, Maria, you mentioned earlier was the connection to the younger generations and not just celebrating the past, recognizing the present, but anticipating the future. And one of the things Noya has done, has a long tradition of doing, is awarding scholarships. Can you tell us a little bit about that program and the type of awardees you have over the years?
Yes, we have a variety of awardees. It's required to be a matriculating, at least an undergrad, graduate, could be post-grad. And over the years, since about 1981, we've awarded a total of 210 scholarships. We have a special committee in the organization that reviews the applications. And of course, we have certain criteria that has to be met. And once that's met, we look at people that have met the criteria, but also if you're teaching Italian or majoring in Italian studies, we try to give preference to that to encourage, Italian in the Italian American community.
Right.
So it's very popular, and it's been consistently awarded every year.
Well, as a national organization, you've talked, about what you do inside this country, but you also have international programming. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Aside from I think Pat alluded a little bit to virtual programs, but before we ran into all the problems with COVID and turned to virtual programming, early on, there were two things. There were conferences that were held overseas in Italy with women's groups or the government in Italy, and they'd be coupled with an Italy trip, which they're very popular too, talking about international programming. So usually in each location that the group went to, they would have a one-day conference, partnering with that. So it's not just a tour of Italy, much more. You get more cultural and, feel. So when they first started, and I'm not sure, I think in the early 90s, there might have been some in the 80s, but I know in the 90s, we got as many as 150 people on the trip with meeting with representatives from government, and one ended with an audience with the Pope. So they're really something. The trips are smaller now, but still popular. And of course, because of COVID, we haven't been able to run one. The last one we had was in 2019, where we visited every location in Sicily you could think of in 9 days. But it was very, very popular.
And do you interact with other women's groups in Italy when you do this?
Yeah, not all the time. Like this past time, we weren't able to. But yes, we have in the past. Yes.
All right.
Or the government representatives. Once we met with the equivalent of the vice president of the United States at that level, and she, hosted us. We had a ceremony with her and a talk. It was really something.
Let's talk a little bit about the future. What are some of your plans for the future, and some of the challenges you see as we continue kind of eking our way out of this COVID, but taking things we learned with us into whatever the next stage of interaction is going to be?
So, Chris, the challenge has been twofold too. One of these coming out of COVID is to increase participation and how to capture and convert the enthusiastic response we had to the virtual programs and into active paid members who help to support the program. So we're also examining ways that we can be more inclusive of different diversities, especially those whose heritage includes Italian Americans. So in the future, we're looking to recognize the contributions of these other populations to American blended ethnic backgrounds. And so I have two programs coming up. One includes Italy's only female rabbi, who was originally from Pittsburgh, but she went to trace her roots back in Calabria. Her parents were our grandparents were Calabrian Jews, and those are called the cryptic Jews because a lot of them were hidden identities because their ancestors had arrived in Italy as after following the Inquisition. So it's sort of like a return to the homeland and recognizing the culture and what the religion meant to it. And then also there is, last year, I'm pretty sure the Calandria Institute had this author on one of their programs. Is a Somalian-Italian author who talks about growing up in Italy and how she considers herself Italian first. But obviously she's a woman of color and what that's meant growing up with color. So we reached out to her. We're trying to bring in more programs like that so people everywhere can identify what we're trying to do, because overall we're still a women's organization and we want to support one another.
I wanted just to add that we're really looking at our mission again. We're considering doing a strategic plan because we need to assess where we're going. We want to grow, but where we're going in this new post-COVID world that we're in. So we feel like that's worth examining. And we also need to, if we're going to grow, we need to broaden our fundraising and development efforts. And what Pat mentioned too, I think is really important, the diversity of our programming. And again, joining the post-COVID world.
I'm sorry, just to follow up on that, one of the things we learned too is that, we started small and where the physical concentration of Italian Americans have been, mainly on the Northeast or even down to Washington, Virginia. But we learned that we can create bigger regions now and reach them, throughout if we have satellites. So I'm thinking of Connecticut and Rhode Island could be expanded into the New England region without a physical presence in each state, but we can certainly reach a very big, population in Boston. We found there's a population in New Hampshire. So we want to do that in different areas so that'll also help us to serve more Italian American women.
So if any of our viewers want to follow up and be in touch, how do they get in touch with Noya?
They can go on our website.
If you go to noia.org, NOIAW.org, there is a place that says, join who we are, and you can fill out an application and check out the various levels of membership.
We're looking forward to positive days ahead after the last year and a half.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Maria Tamburi and Pat Tinto from the National Organization of Italian American Women. I'm Fred Gardafe saying arrivederci.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching this episode of Italics. I'm your host, Anthony Tamburri. Arrivederci alla prossima puntata.